Greetings. This is Hazel Moon bringing you simple Bible lessons to increase your faith and understanding of Jesus Christ the Messiah. Today's broadcast is Who is Jesus? Chapter 23. Jesus asks, Who do you say that I am? Today I want to take you to some happenings that are recorded in Matthew chapter 15 and 16, and also in Mark's Gospel, chapter 8. Everywhere that Jesus went, he was pushed and prodded as people tried to reach out and touch him. Jesus often needed to get away from the crowds to rest. At this time, he went up on the mountain and he sat down. And great crowds came to him, bringing with them the lame, the blind, the crippled, the mute, and many others. And they put them at his feet, and he healed them, so that the crowd wondered, and they glorified God and gave him praise. Then Jesus called his disciples and said to them, I have compassion on the crowd, because they have been with me now for 3 days, and they have nothing to eat. And I'm not willing to send them away, because some of them have traveled from a far distance, and they might faint on their way home. And so he said to them, How much food do we have? And they said, We have 7 loaves and a few little fish. And Jesus took the 7 loaves and the fish, and he prayed and blessed it, and then he broke it, and he gave it to the disciples to distribute among the people. And everyone was satisfied as they ate, and the crowd was about 4,000, besides women and children. And after sending away the crowds, Jesus got into the boat and went to the region of Magdala. The Pharisees and the Sadducees came to him to argue, and they were seeking a sign to test him. And Jesus knew their hearts were full of unbelief, and he sighed deeply in his spirit, and he said, Why do you seek after a sign? I must say to you, there's not going to be any sign given you except that of Jonah. You will remember Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days, and then he was expelled and came out. And Jesus left them, and he got into the boat again, and he departed to the other side. Now, when the disciples reached the other side, they had forgotten to bring any bread. And Jesus said to them, Watch and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And they began discussing it among themselves, saying, Is that because we brought no bread? But Jesus was aware of this, and he said, Why are you discussing this among yourselves, the very fact that you have no bread? Don't you understand? Don't you remember the 5 loaves for the 5,000? And the 7 loaves for the 4,000? Why do you fail to understand? I was not speaking of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, but rather their doctrine. And then the disciples understood that they had to beware of the teaching. Today, we must be careful what we read and the messages that we listen to. It might seem good, but we need to examine and see what the Bible actually has to say. Many are deceived by man's opinion instead of the true gospel written in God's word. Now, when Jesus came to the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" And they said, "Well, some say that you're John the Baptist, and others say Elijah, and others Jeremiah, or that you're one of the prophets." And Jesus said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter replied, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered him, "Simon, you are blessed, because flesh and blood has not revealed that to you, but my Father which is in heaven. And I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." And then he strictly charged the disciples to tell no one that he was the Christ. Well, from that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and the chief priests and the scribes, and to be killed, and on the third day to be raised. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "Far be it from you, Lord. This should never happen to you." But Jesus turned to Peter and said, "Get you behind me, Satan. You're going to be a hindrance to me, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man." And Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For what shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul?" Now that's a good question for us to consider also, and make our choice now to follow Jesus the Christ. Nothing in this world would be of value if we were to lose our own soul. If you've not already done so, decide today to receive Jesus into your life and follow him. Until next time, this is Hazel Moon asking that God's blessings will rest upon you as you continue to understand of who is Jesus. Have a blessed day. God bless you all.